Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Kalamazoo City Commission to order for Monday, January 8th, 2018. Clerk Borling, please call the roll.
Commissioner Anderson.
Here.
Commissioner Cooney.
Present.
Commissioner Cunningham.
Here.
Commissioner Sykes. Commissioner Urban. Vice Mayor Knott.
Here.
Mayor Hopewell.
Present. May I have a motion to excuse Commissioner Sykes?
Move.
Moved by Commissioner Anderson.
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Cunningham. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Mr. Manager, you have any communications this evening?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Thank you. We are on item C, discussion, review and widowing. Is that supposed to be winnowing? Winnowing down? Is it winnowing? Winnowing, yes. Really? I always thought it was widowing. All right, well, now you all know that I can't spell. Winnowing of I can go to jail for that one. Winnowing of applications for the at-large director position on the Foundation for Excellence Board of Directors. Commissioners, I'm going to make a couple opening statements and allow you to, if you need to or you wish. Some of what I will say has been trying to work with the clerk to help you have some type of structured process up here to allow you to do that. So one, what the clerk and I came up with, similar to when we appointed Commissioner Cunningham, we had a ballot. And we have a ballot that has 6 places on it, because if I understand at the last meeting when I left, you folks decided there would be 6. Had I stayed, I hope it would have been 2. But anyway, knew that wasn't going to happen. So you're going to have a ballot, and we will all write our choices. You can do them any way you want, one to your highest priority or not, it doesn't matter. And then you will sign that ballot and date it. So this will still be a public document. You'll turn that ballot over to the clerk, and he will put on the screen how you all voted, each name of the commissioner and the name of the 6 people that were chosen by that commissioner. So it's all in the up and up, cleared it with the attorney, because all of that is divulged in public tonight. One of the things I wanted to say to you, and mainly I wasn't at the meeting the last time, so I would have said this then. I hope you approach this with thinking about gaps that we have compared to the individuals that have been appointed by the Community Foundation. I want you also to possibly keep in mind, I don't know for sure, but there may be a need for committee members as well for the foundation. So if someone that you love or think is awesome doesn't get placed as a board member, maybe they fit in one of the committees that may occur. Of course, we don't have a board yet, but may occur out of that committee and can still serve. But I try to approach this for me for looking at the gaps and thinking about that everyone could have a chance to serve in some capacity. And remember, this won't be the last time that we'll be appointed to this board. We're planning this work in perpetuity, so there's going to be lots of opportunities for folks in the future. So that's all I wanted to say. Any other commissioners, feel free. Vice Mayor?
I just have a clarifying question. Are we supposed to, when we fill out our ballot, weight them or just put our names down right
Just
now?
put your names down, and then when the clerk gets them, he'll put them on the screen. We'll see if there's anyone that rolls out. Typically, we work in the majority. I think when we were selecting folks to interview for Commissioner Cunningham's position, former position, I think we selected each of us, if someone received 2 votes, I think we moved them ahead. We have had a lot of people to choose from, unlike we only had a few in their case. I hope we just go with majority. And, you know, it could come out, I'm not saying you need to do this, you could opt that person, if all of us, 6 of us choose the same person or same persons, that'll be interesting if someone receives a majority vote of the commission. What do we do and how do you want to handle that, if you want to do anything different, that sort of thing. But it would be the top 6 that receive the highest votes from the commission would be the ones that you have selected to at least move into an interview process, or at least for us to have a discussion about after we see those 6. And I guess technically you can make adjustments, but I'd encourage you to watch that stuff. That answer your question, Vice Mayor? Commissioner Urban?
I'm first
I'm foreseeing the results of the vote being more than 6 people. You know, we're going to have more than 6 names on all those ballots.
Oh, I would anticipate that
We
we
might
won't
be
all
as much
have
as
the same
18 or
names.
24.
Correct.
So what will be the procedure to, will we get a chance to vote again with the people with the fewest votes being dropped off? Like one or more of us may have only contributed 1 new name. I guess in order to keep from having to have revotes, it would mean we ought to prioritize our choice. And
So-
I'd rather not do that until I see how everybody else is voting. And I also would like, before we start, to have a little bit of discussion about what each of us is concerned about in terms of gaps, because I can see 3 or 4 or 5 different kinds of gaps we could have.
Go ahead.
Well, one of them might be in terms of someone who is an expert in group dynamics, someone who's skilled in being able to pull together a diverse group of people who aren't used to, haven't heretofore operated together. Someone skilled in that. Another one might be someone who is skilled in making presentations to outside groups, in case the foundation wants to get a grant from another foundation. Who do we send to that? Who's skilled in making presentations to strangers? Another one maybe we need a bolstering of expertise in one or more of the interest sections. Well, say housing or arts or whatever you think. Faith group. So that's 3 right there. Another one is just how important is it to have somebody who is well known by the whole community that can be easily recognized as somebody who isn't truly an at-large type of delegate. On the other hand, picking someone who's just well known doesn't give us much of a chance to fill in a skill gap or an attribute gap that we have. But it's a factor that I'm considering. So I just wanted to just lay that out as my thoughts about this, and we can have a discussion about it or not, but I appreciate the chance to say that much.
Absolutely. Let me respond to the first part of what you said in regards to how do we select. So as I spoke with the attorney and spoke with the clerk, we govern by the power of 4. So if we get to the point where there's 6 people and 4 of them have 6 votes and 2 of them have 4 votes and other people have 3 and 3 and 3,
Yeah.
then we know where we are. If we get into some hokey situation, well, we'll have to figure that out. We could have a tie, and so no one gets to the highest. Then we'll have to look at those on the list, and we'll make a decision how we proceed after we see what happens. Part of the reason why, just for the audience, that I elected to work with the clerk to go in this manner is so that we weren't all influenced in each other's votes. That, okay, if Commissioner Anderson goes first and he says his 6, and then Commissioner Cooney says his 6, well, Commissioner Cunningham might say, well, maybe I'll change mine and whatever. Really want you to have the opportunity to just lay out what you've been thinking and all the work that you've done to determine who you want to move forward. And then now, when we know everybody, then we can start making some adjustments and changes. It's still your prerogative, but typically we would go with the majority rules, and then someone on the affirmative side, I guess, could withdraw or change their vote or whatever, and anybody could change their vote, but to take someone off of having a majority or off of 6, one of those folks that placed them there would have to change that. Commissioner?
Well, I just want to say that by starting off that way, that's very clear to all of us and to the audience that we all had an equal shot at getting our names out.
Exactly.
And that's pretty important in the transparency and of what we're trying to do. So that's fine with me. Good.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm going to go to Commissioner Cooney next. I think you pushed your button. Oh, Sorry.
No, I just wanted to say, I didn't want to say anything about process. I just want to say how impressed I was that how many people applied for this.
gosh.
This was amazing to me. And their statements, how much they cared about the city was so impressive. And then the third thing was how talented
Yeah.
so many of these people are, was quite humbling. That you figure, wow, we have a really amazing group of people in this community who want to serve it and are equipped to serve it. Wow, it's just terrific.
Commissioner Anderson?
I guess just for my own clarification maybe, and we'll get into this later, but I just want to think a little bit about, this is a new thing. We're creating this board. It's a little misty in certain ways because the commission is still going to be making choices. The board's not going to overrule stuff. The board's going to have important functions, and yet, I guess I don't know if this phrase is appropriate, but it's a subservient board in some ways too to the commission here as well. And so when I was thinking about this, I was thinking, not to diminish it, but what are all the things this board might be doing, relative to its capacity, which is approval and advisory, but not ultimately decision making. So I was just kind of thinking about that, and I don't know if maybe at this point we don't have absolute clarity about that. But one of the things I thought was, if there is some place that we're going to be doing fundraising activities, it's not going to be at the commission level. It's going to be at this foundation board level. Is that an inaccurate understanding from people's perspective? What if you think about the fact that this board is representing this foundation, which is actually going to be responsible for receiving funds and protecting those funds and that sort of thing? I mean, it's interested in people's feedback on that thought about responsibilities.
And that was something I was going to say, Commissioner, during my comments, and I neglected to do that. If you think about how this was set up, you approved bylaws, you approved articles of incorporation. Those bylaws and articles pretty much direct the Foundation for Excellence in regards to the work that they are responsible for. Mr. Attorney, maybe you can give us the highlights of what their responsibilities are. And I didn't prep him for that, but he helped write the documents. But as I've said over and over at the meetings, and he's reaffirmed, and their role is not to set the priorities for the city. That's your role. Working with our team to set the priorities. So the foundation will not be telling you that, and I used, let's say, a neighborhood project that we decide through the neighborhood plans that this neighborhood, we don't decide, but the neighborhood decides they want to do something regarding green space or whatever, I don't know. And another neighborhood decides they want to do something regarding entrepreneurship. Well, if we bring the green space up for the foundation to consider, they're not to tell us that, no, you need to do this one first. Their role is to vet that we meet the Imagine Kalamazoo 2025 vision, our 10 goals that are within that vision, whether it's diversity or complete neighborhoods or shared prosperity, all of those. So generally, that is their role. We bring it, they react to it. If we don't bring it, they don't get to do it. No different than the Planning Commission. If something's not brought to them, they don't get to wander into that space. Zoning Board of Appeals, if it's not brought to you, you don't get to wander into that space. You can have all your opinions. And so for me, when I was thinking about the needs, it is the fundraising need that really scares me the most. That's the heavy lift that we need these folks to be able to dive in and do. Really, that's the hugest part. And then, they're going to have, I think we're meeting twice, I think. ACM Lamb, we're meeting twice, the foundation, or 3 times a year? 4? Okay. 3? Yeah. So, during the rest of the year, we got to have them hammering out and getting those dollars, chasing down money, certainly figuring out how they're going to operate together, all those things. But that's kind of what I don't know if I was accurate or not. Mr. Attorney, you want to?
I think you're very accurate. I don't disagree with anything that you said. I want to give a little more of a basis. Under the IRS rules, the foundation is what is called a support organization to the city. However, it's just not a fundraising, because if it
Right,
were,
not just fund.
if it was just raising money, then it would fall into a different category under IRS rules. So it is a support organization. On the other hand, in order to have individuals who are willing to serve on this board, who would have some, who are just not rubber stamps, because then you can pick anybody to do that. And in order to give these folks some meaningful work to do, they are not a rubber stamp. And I agree with everything that the mayor said in terms of the role that these individuals will play. But as we said from the beginning, they are a support organization. Ultimately, it is this commission and the city administration that will be bringing projects to the board, and then the board, I don't want to say vets it, they don't give up or down, but they're saying, okay, how does this fit within the IK 2025, and here's, yeah, this is a good idea, and then we report back. So they're basically one of the avenues that we filter back to the community. That's why it is a community-oriented board, so as to be as diverse as possible to represent all aspects of this great diverse community.
I'm going to see if Commissioner Cunningham, he hasn't had a chance to dive in, if he wants to, and then I'll start back around. I think Vice Mayor, you were next.
You know, cross-referencing a lot of different things when reviewing these names. I will agree with Dr. Cooney in that I think it was a very well done job in regards to receiving a lot of different applications. And there were some very strong applications. And when I whittled it down for myself, I had more than 6, easy. And so at that point, I just kind of started going to some of the things, and I'm just going to put my 2 cents out. Some of the things that I valued, one being, you know, financial background was weighed a little heavy for me. Those who were retired and had the free time, a little more free time, that weighed a little more heavy for me. I appreciated somebody who was born and raised here in Kalamazoo, having a born and raised background. I think that provides introspective that maybe someone may not understand when you're a child in this community. And like I said, you know, the foundation did a really good job with the selections that they picked. So, you know, those are my 2 cents in regards to, and another thing was free time. Let me go back to that. One thing I did look at is some people were still too invested into a lot of different organizations or community interactions. Another thing is I appreciate having someone else who's willing to step up to the table who normally hasn't been a part of city-specific groups. And so those were kind of also some variables that I took into account for myself.
Thank you, Commissioner. Vice Mayor?
Thank you. So just for my colleagues' awareness, because we had such a great pool of applicants, I utilized 2 criteria to pick my 6. And that was drawing from what Carrie Pickett Irway of the foundation had identified, which was kind of a fund development or a donor development financial background, as well as a gap, which was members from the LGBT community. So if folks met either of those criteria, they made it to my list, and that was my process.
Commissioner Urban?
Well, I'm hoping that the Foundation for Excellence directors, when they meet, will kind of serve as examiners and questioners of what the city brings to them to approve, and the projects and programs that we have asked them for money for. They may end up pretty much going with what we asked for, but I don't think they necessarily have to completely, because in some cases there may not be enough money available from the interest on the principal to do all that we asked. And, so cross-checking it with what we say we want to do in broad terms, in terms of the IK 2025 and the 5 priorities that we already have, it's perfectly okay with me if they are somewhat skeptical about what we ask for and make us do our homework, and we ought to be prepared at the front end to expect some further detail on what we ask for. I think that'd be very useful. An outside body who's not elected, but invested in the city. So it's possible for these people to really take their job seriously, and they're going to need to be retired or unemployed or something to really do the job right. So that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to clarify, it wasn't my intent to say there isn't a role for the foundation in regards to the priorities that we bring, because they are a funding stream. So no different than when we have criteria that we have to meet for grants when we receive dollars, or, you know, you had to vet CDAC information, and there's certain things you have to abide by. So yeah, we may bring something, and the foundation could vote that item down, or not item, but could vote down what the package we bring. What I'm saying is they can't substitute what they want. They can't say, oh, no, not funding that. However, all in favor of funding such and such and giving $100,000 to, they can't do that. That's not their responsibility. We bring the priorities. They either fund the priority or they don't, and we need to make that case. Here's how we've determined that we're meeting our vision, that we're holding up the 10 goals, the 5 priorities, what have you, of Imagine Kalamazoo, and that needs to be the same process that staff presents to us when we get a report.
Right.
Here's how community was vetted, here's the other choices, I mean, maybe not other choices, but a number of things in that report. So they're sitting there going, yep, I can see this, excuse me, Mr. Mayor, or excuse me, Commissioner, or excuse me, ACM Lamb, I don't understand how this really gets at prosperity like you say it does. Help explain that to me. So yeah, they'll have that opportunity, of course. Mr. Clerk, I'm gonna have you pass out the ballots so we can get this thing moving. And commissioners, take your time, no rush. Again, you'll have 6 spaces. We ask that you put your name at the top of it, and there's a spot that says Commissioner name, so I think you can follow that. And your signature and date it so that we know that it all happened here at this meeting. You may have your own piece of paper. Please only use the ballot. There's the ballot, everybody. All right. For the audience, the balloting will go on the screen. I don't know if I said that or not, so when the clerk will need a few minutes to do his work.
So we can talk about the weather while we're waiting?
You can talk about anything you want. I won't be listening to you, but no. Okay. You may talk about the weather if you'd like.
One thing I will say, tells a little bit about the human condition when you've gone through something, so when it hits 30, it just feels like it is a total heat wave. Yeah, windows down on your car.
Yeah, and don't get used to this. They already said that this is going to last for 2 or 3 days, and then the weekend it starts freezing again. So, and I do want to correct Mr. Barrett. My pipes didn't burst; they just froze. So, in your article, it talked about them bursting, and they didn't burst. Thank God. Would have been a better story if they burst. Yeah, it probably would.
Just a question here. I know that Commissioner Sykes was ill, as I understand it, maybe
Yes.
unable to attend tonight. Did she turn in any names?
I gave her the option of doing that. She said she trusts her colleagues, and so that's where she left it with me.
Is this spreadsheet automatically totaling at the bottom?
On the side.
Oh, on the side. There we go. Okay.
Yeah, our clerk has skills.
Vast and impressive, yes.
sort them. He's so good. He's sort of them. Okay. Commissioners, it looks like we have 4 votes for 2 individuals, Nathan Dannison and James Houston. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's 6 individuals that have 3 votes. That 5 individuals that have 3 votes. Yep, I just was telling a friend today I can't see. So there's multiple questions or opportunities. One, you don't have to have 6 people, but it looks like we have moved at least 2 forward. And then I would say that I would encourage us to try to stick with the folks that received 3 votes. And so what we could do is give you another ballot, let you think, give you another ballot, and then you can select from the 3s. Is that reasonable? Commissioner? Commissioner Urban first.
Well, I'm wondering if we need to restrict it to the 3s at this point?
I guess you don't. You could vote, but you could only vote for 4 people. So I guess I would encourage you to, since you have commissioners that are in the 3 realm, but I guess, commissioners, I guess you could vote for someone outside the 3, but you only have 4 votes this time.
Yes.
Does that make?
That's good.
Okay.
Okay.
That okay? Is that reasonable? Okay. Here we go again, round 2. So we are in agreement that the ones that have 4, we're moving them on? Okay.
Do you have to vote for 4?
You do not have to, you didn't have to vote for 6. You can vote for as many or as few as you want. I'm not as many, but as few. No more than 4. Let's see here. And commissioners understand that these individuals may end up having more than 4 votes like the other 2 because, we're restricted, whatever. You know what you got. Scott, you gotta put it back where it was, bro. Thank you. Okay, Scott, I'm not sure what you just did, but you just, thank you, yeah.
Ground music. Dun, dun, dun.
Na, 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 na. I don't know what you said. I can't, along with not being able to see, I can't hear either. It's very warm. Oh, yes.
I might have made a mistake. We weren't voting on the 4-pointers again, is that right?
No.
Okay.
It's got so fast with it. Okay, commissioners, it looks like we have at least 3 others. Craig DeNoyer, Sid Ellis, and Dale Hine. That leaves you 1 more person. Do you wish to select 1 more?
Yes.
Heard a yes? Sound, Commissioner Anderson?
Supported, but, so I'm just thinking, just thinking ahead on this, we're thinking about being prepared to interview, and just remind me when we're planning to interview folks?
We will be interviewing them on Monday, or Tuesday of next week.
Okay. And we
We
still
have to make sure they can all attend. We got to do all of that stuff, and so we may have to adjust if we really want that person. Giving them a week notice, that's not necessarily a simple task. So we'll task the staff with making those contacts, and they'll get in touch with us. Scott's going to give you the questions that were used when we selected Commissioner Cunningham. Not to say that these are the questions, but what we did, we allowed all commissioners to submit questions, so you'll have this week to get questions in that you'd like to have asked. That's the sort of thing that will happen process-wise. I was going to talk about that after we made our selections.
Just ask another question from, Scott might remember this. Maybe you do too, Eric. How many folks did we interview when we were looking for a city commission replacement? 4?
No, there were 6.
There were 6?
That were granted the opportunity to interview, but one of which
Grant Fletcher pulled out.
pulled out that night, and it was quite a long evening with the 5. But maybe that's because I had to sit on receiving the end of a decision.
So just to vote, I mean, we voted twice, and, you know, I'm certainly willing to just keep voting and voting, but, I mean, it doesn't have to be 6.
No, but that's why I asked the question. Commissioners, do you want to select 6, or do you want, Don said, or Commissioner Cooney said yes, Commissioner Urban said yes. I didn't hear from the rest of you, so.
Well, there's three votes that need to be reallocated. It looks like the people who got 2 votes or less, people who voted for them need to reallocate their votes to which ones of the which one, because we have 5 to pick now, which one of the 2 remaining people who got 3 votes should get the most.
But using your philosophy from last time, you can pick from anyone on the list. That's what we did the last vote, because you
Could pick.
felt we should be able to pick from anyone on the list.
You mean anyone on the whole list of 42?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the likelihood of us doing that is pretty small, isn't it?
But you asked that question earlier, and I answered yes, because it sounded like that's what you wanted to do.
Well, I think I wanted to do for a different reason
Oh, okay.
than you're asking now. I reserve the power to alter my
Absolutely,
motivation.
absolutely.
As needed.
I'm just reminding you of yourself.
Well, okay.
So, commissioners, you go ahead, Commissioner.
Just one more question about this, and I appreciate the interest to vote again. I have no problem with that. But just thinking, you know, I guess I appreciate the idea of like, oh, no, let's not cut it down, you know, let's keep it at 6. Well, you know, wait a second. We got to get to 1 on this thing here. So there's going to be a hard decision that's got to be made. If it's not tonight, I mean, this is the beginning of the hard decisions. It's going to end up with 1. So, I mean, I would suggest maybe starting to do some of that harder work this evening instead of giving ourselves a bigger pool. But, I mean.
Commissioner?
Well, I mean, I don't know Jim Perry, and I'll bet there's a lot of people that don't know Kathy Purnell. And I would like them to have a chance to present who they are and what they're about. I think they put their stuff in, they've worked hard on doing that, and I'd like to give as many people a chance to stand before us and give their presentation as possible.
So here's one thought I'll offer. You could interview 7 and go with the ones that received 3. You could do that. Or you could take the one last vote and see where it lands and go from there. Commissioner Urban?
Oh, another possibility is we could in this vote just not put in any names, and that signals that we're satisfied with the 5.
Sure.
And if a majority of us
Have no names.
4 of us say put no names down, then that settles it.
Yep.
So that way we do have the possibility of considering David's, Commissioner Anderson's thinking, along with the chance for the rest of us to vote. So I propose that.
Okay. Mr. Clerk, you have another ballot for us, please? I'm just going to move us, Commissioners.
That's fine. Could you remind me what we're doing right now?
One vote for one vote.
Vote
If
for
you
1
want.
or none.
Or none. 1 or none.
propose that we take all our votes going forward, just like this.
Everybody has to press the button at once?
Yeah, but see, some of you have trouble with your microphone, so I'm not sure I don't give you any more buttons. No more buttons for the commission. It works out really nice?
I think so.
Why?
Because there's none of the games to show. Everybody votes at the same time. Everybody votes at the same time.
Oh, I see. You can hesitate, can't you?
Because that's,
Well,
Oh, it'll shut you out if you don't vote.
well, I could see sometimes people are looking for a chance to be on the right side of an issue, and if they can see somebody that they're not sure about voting before they do, they can
Right.
decide to make a safe vote, saying opposing something that's still going to pass, just for
Right.
example. I mean, has that ever happened?
Commissioners, it looks like Jim Perry was selected as our number 6. We have our 6 individuals. It looks like Nathan Dannison, James Houston, Craig DeNoyer, Sid Ellis, Dale Hine, and Jim Perry.
Terrific.
We will plan to interview those folks. I assume your staff will, foundation staff will make those contacts. And we'll inform Commissioner Sykes tomorrow? Yep. Excellent. We're now at citizens' comments on anything this evening. Commissioner comments? We are adjourned. Yeah, so Scott's has those questions that were asked before, then you can, give questions to Scott this week, things you'd like to ask.
Well, which one of those white males has wise judgment? There's got to be at least one of them.
Yeah, we got them wherever.